Hi, it's Nancy welcoming you to Garden Scroll. Today is October the 26th, and I think this may be our last pretty day in the garden. So before it's over, yes, I am going to walk around one more time and tell the garden goodbye. I might even tell it how much I've appreciated its beauty, making my days better even when that weather was horrendous and I'm not able to handle the heat anymore. But while we sit here this morning, I thought of the times when, like when my daughter was born, my mother found her the most beautiful little outfits. They were like, had hats to match. They had the little panties to match. They just were just beautiful. And I had a week home with her before I went back to work. And I only had that because I had a C-section. Otherwise, I would have been back sooner. But, while I whine around about that, someone else is saying they had their child and were out of the hospital the same day, because that is the way it is now. Let me get around here where I can actually get some flowers in here for you. And I got to stay in the hospital a whole week, so, I did fine. But I was going to get to the point that I didn't have time to put all those little outfits on my daughter and take pictures of her because life was too busy. So during that 1 week that I had with her, I put each one of those little outfits on her and took her picture in them. I still have those little pictures too. And it was a great idea that I had, because I don't think it would have happened any other way. If I just waited until I actually put them on her, we were always in a hurry. There would not have been time for pictures. So today I actually had my husband to take pictures of me all over the garden in various places. And I'll have those pictures. It'll look like I just spent a whole lot of time sitting around peacefully looking at the garden in beautiful weather. And that is so how I wanted it to really be. I thought maybe I'd have time to do that, but honestly I'm not even finished gathering things in, but I've got them really close now. The last time I showed you, I still had my little plumeria and my asparagus fern out here, which I have not brought them in yet because I still need to clean out my junk room so they can fit in there. They're still sitting here on the front porch, but they're that far, and I'm feel like I can do it now. Seriously, I'm going to get it done today, and hopefully that will be the case. But I do feel like maybe I can, and I do want to cover things, though I don't know if I'll have time to cover the things I need to cover, like this little gazing ball. I definitely want to cover it, give it some protection, and anything glass, like this little globe, well, both of these little globes actually, and then these little blue globes. And I have found that just a little clear plastic over them will take care of them, and they'll come right back out. But if you don't put that on it, I don't know how a little piece of plastic, it would not make any difference for me, I don't think. But for these little garden art pieces, it does. It absolutely saves them. So this morning we sat here on this little bench and had our coffee. We do that quite often, so I did get to sit in the garden. But I did not get to use all the other areas that I dreamed about sitting out here and just relaxing. So today I'm going to have him take my picture in all those areas. And I actually have gotten to sit in this spot a few times this year too, because this is where I sit to make up my concentrate for liquid edging and spraying insecticide or any other thing that I have to use like that. This is a good spot for that, because low down I can reach down and undo it and fill it back up with water, and it's just a good spot for that. So here's where I need a glass of tea, because that's how I envisioned it all the time, that I didn't want it with, too hot, mosquitoes, whatever. Always something, always busy doing something else. Still no glass of tea. So I opted not to sit in this little seat because it's pretty much full. That, we never get to sit in our gardens as much as we dream about sitting in our gardens. And this year has certainly been no exception. So actually, when we put these down, I think, didn't we get these? I'll just talk to my husband here a minute. Did we get these when we got the picnic table?
Yeah.
So, and my idea was, if we had family gatherings back here, everybody would hopefully have a place to sit. So, I think we've never had a family gathering back here. And look how pretty this looks this morning. We got 2.5 inches of rain. It was wonderful. And look how it responded. It looks so good. That's just another reason I hate to let them go. But I don't hate to let the work go. And the most I ever got to sit at this little picnic table was one time when we had one of the tours and my friends from the church came, and we kind of sat around the picnic table, and I was so anxious to get to sit down and look out at it. But everybody else, I think they were ready to go roam around and look at everything. Oh, I was going to say too, don't feel bad. Even God makes a mess when He cleans. So this one is depicting having my feet up, like that ever happens. But it's happening this moment. And I got to see several of my mums blooming. They're not all in full bloom yet, and they may not get a chance to be in full bloom, but they're enjoyable like this. You can see that beautiful color. And this little coleus didn't do a whole lot until the late in the season, and I clipped a couple of little pieces off this and took them inside to save. But look at it now, it just filled itself right back out, and it's looking great. Of course, that's another reason I hate to let things go. They're just now beginning to be mature and beautiful. I'm still not sure that I'm not going to see if I can find a place for this beautiful impatient. It's just so impatient, and yet it did so well last year inside. It actually bloomed, and I brought it back out thinking, well, now it'll go ahead and go away, but it did not. It looked beautiful all season, not always in full bloom, but it's looking great today. And it's hard to tell, this garden is so much like life itself, because it's so hard to tell someone goodbye in your family. It's so hard in your heart to let them go, and you just really don't. You just keep hoping for a miracle, and sometimes we get a miracle. Miracles do happen, and so, but a lot of times we're just getting sort of prepared behind the scenes. It's not anything we agree that we're going to be prepared to do, and we're not, but at the same time we know it's going to happen, and I know it's going to happen to these little plants. So I'm just going to try to enjoy them as much as I can. I'm going to try to have pictures to aid our memories, especially as older people. Sometimes our memories kind of slip a little, so that these will be here to look back on and to remember when we had a beautiful garden. Look at this impatient here, just filling out, overflowing, looking great. I don't think it's thinking about death, and yet I wonder, maybe it is. Maybe it's saying this is my last chance for my grand finale. This is another tiny little plot that just looked so great. This little coleus looked great in it to begin with, and then because some of my stained glass coleus, like this one, actually went all dark on me, I went ahead and put the dark ones in another pot, and this is them. And actually they look great too, and they still trail, and they looked great with this little coleus. And I'm going to miss this little one. I did actually take a few little clippings in, and I probably will get just a few more today, just simply because they're there and they won't be there much longer, even if they should survive the next 3 or 4 days while it's going to get cold. And it's supposed to get down to 33 and even one night to 30, so it's very high chance that this will be the end of it all. So I probably will go ahead and get just a few more if I possibly can. You cannot hardly get into my house. Our pastor and his wife stopped by Sunday. I had told them that I wanted to have them out. I was planning on cooking for them and, you know, having a great day in the garden in the beauty of the weather, but you know that didn't happen. And when I realized it's not going to happen, I just decided, well, I'll just go ahead and we'll just eat out and then we'll look at the garden. So that's what we did. Actually did it in reverse. And the time we looked at the garden, the restaurant was cleared out more, and we had kind of had it to ourselves a little bit, so that was actually good. And we got to see the garden as God was decorating for fall with all the beautiful yellow that popped up over those 2 days that I was not around that much, just here to sleep and gone again. And I think I've brought in the coleus a little bit of each color. I'm not sure, but I'm pretty sure. So hopefully that's the case, and hopefully they will be back out here next spring. I'll be anxious for it then. Honestly, and you probably can tell, I am getting ready to be ready for a rest. I'm actually very much needing a rest from all this. This is work. It looks beautiful. It looks wonderful, and it is. But it's work. It's constant work. You cannot get it all done, or I can't. And I don't think very many people could if they did it by themselves. And my husband does help me a little, but he doesn't help a lot, and I'm okay with that. I encourage him not to, because I do not want him to be sick of this garden. I want him to think of it as a beauty too, not as a torture, which it can be at times in that heat. It can be absolute torture to be out here in the garden. And you know, sometimes the mosquitoes do show up, and I think everyone in the whole neighborhood comes here to congregate, and then all the lost boys from the Black Lagoon just join them. There's so many, but actually we haven't had a terrible problem with mosquitoes. Sometimes it seems that way if they get after you in the evening, but it hasn't been that bad. It's just not perfect. You know, I want it perfect. And you know what? I think these would have worked if I would have done it in the spring. Of course, I didn't know my niece wanted them, and I was, other things on my mind. But even though they look terrible, they're not dead. They started crisping up, but some of this it's not crisp. It's flexible. So they could be building a root even now. I was hoping that would happen and hoping we'd have time for it to happen, but now I really don't know what I'm going to do with them. I guess try to bring them inside and see if they will live. And look at this Mexican sunflower this morning after that rain. It just filled out in bloom. The rain didn't help this little one though. It's gone the way of all the earth. But it is leaving some seed. And these little plants are also ready to go inside. I've just got to clean out my room, bring them in and put them in the back, and then put all the stuff back in there again. Will that be done today? Probably not, but maybe. We'll see. You know, I was hoping that we actually got that rain and perked things up like it did, and then we had 3 or 4 more days to sit out and enjoy that. Then we wouldn't have to take the pictures all at once maybe. But anyway, we got it done. And God has been so good to us to give us a wonderful, beautiful garden to enjoy. I hope you're enjoying it too. I feel like you are. And I was saying how God makes a mess too when he cleans up. But look at this. It's such a mess with all those foliage from the weeping willow tree. And yet it's pretty with all that color. It kind of looks like one of those hairstyles that a part of you just wants to take a comb and straighten it up, and then the other part of you thinks, well, that's eye-catchingly neat, and well, maybe not neat, but pretty. Look, this little third one that wasn't doing much is looking great after that rain. Now it's all filled out, beautiful, ready to shine, and it's going to have to go away instead. Oh my goodness. And day before yesterday, I did plant my little new mum. I don't know if it will make it through the season to come back next season, but I hope it will. I'm planning on putting some mulch on it and hopefully giving it the best chance I can so it'll be there again. It didn't have much time to shine this year, but it could be a great start for next year. I started these little coleuses in the summertime when the weather was still hot, but we had one of our small rains, and it was a nice time to go ahead and try it. They looked ready for quite some time. The leaves scorched and burned, and I took them off and let them try again, but they were looking just pretty good. And then after that 2.5-inch rain, they are looking great. Look at this lovely little quill, Mom. Wish we'd have got to enjoy it longer. And I think I better come out and get this and take it in for seed. Hopefully this little sedum will still be here after our cold spell, and that it will turn its beautiful colors. It's beginning to turn now, but it will turn such beautiful colors of pink and yellow and orange. When our pastor came and went inside our house, he was nice enough to say, I like all these plants, and there were many, even though he probably could hardly get in the room himself, but he liked the plants. That's what he noticed, so that's great. And I did get a lot of stuff in, and that gets me that freed up feeling of having done what I set out to accomplish. But I did notice that I forgot to get my dahlia, my wand dahlia that made it through last season when I keep them, they had just puffed up and gotten powdery and soft, and they were gone. So, but I had one that was solid and good, and I did plant it, but I planted it later in the garden. It really was I think it was in June, but it just didn't do anything. This actually, what I'm focusing on now is a kale. This is my dinosaur kale. Little pot was beginning to fill out and look great, and with that rain it looks even better than it did before, and now it even has a beautiful double petunia bloom in with the rest of the plants that are in it. And it wouldn't it be great if it had looked like this all season, but it just now began to fill out and look good. It has such potential, but I think its potential is going to end with that colder weather that we're going to get this time. And this is my little dahlia, so I will dig that up today and put it in a paper bag where it can breathe. I might put some peat moss in with it. They say that helps them not to dry up, but this one, I don't know. I had it in it last year and they still dried up, but we'll see. It's definitely always worth a try to save them, I think. So Alma, this is what your little red salvia is going to look like, and as you already know, it will bring bring some butterflies too, but I was thinking hummingbirds. It will definitely bring the hummingbirds, and I haven't seen any for several days, so they have gone where it's warmer. And I'm still debating on whether or not to try to bring in some of my geraniums. I want to, but I just don't have room to do it. I don't know if I can just let them go, though. We'll see how I get, or what I get done still. Look at this color. Isn't it beautiful? I feel the need to go get my gardening clothes on. You know, they say the best bakers are the ones that make the biggest mess in the kitchen. So I'm going to pretend that the best gardeners are the ones that make the biggest mess of themselves while they're working in the garden. I've got to go ahead. I cannot keep clean. I'll be looking like a pig, like a little pig that's been like a fat pig that's been wallowing in the mud. So must it be over? Oh my goodness. Do you ever wonder if when we get to heaven, if all the plants will all bloom at the same time and never die? Of course they probably will never die. And we won't have to worry about needing a rest. We'll never get tired. You know, I think I've told you, but our friend Danny Cook, who is a retired Nazarene preacher, but he one time told me, "Oh, I did not know your garden would look like this. It's so beautiful." I think when you get to heaven, God's going to put you in charge of the gardens. And I thought, oh, the Lord surely wouldn't do that to me. I'm so tired, and I've done it, trying to do it for Him here on earth. I don't want to work like that in heaven. And then it dinged in that it won't be work to do it when we get to heaven. It will be pleasure. The kind we dream about when we walk around out here, you know, those days when everything is going to be perfect and beautiful. It's going to be 60 to 70 degrees, maybe 80, but, you know, no more than that. And everything's just going to be pleasant. We're going to have all those glasses of teas that we want, and, you know, maybe even have a little get together, and all our family will be there. And I'm sure God has places provided for seating areas too. So this may be the end of my garden daydreaming for the day and possibly for the year. But you know, we'll do as much as we can. We'll prepare for next year. Things will come along in life that we'll just keep right on going. God is good. And even though everything else changes, He is forever the same. And I had a good day yesterday too, come to think of it. I took my friend Kathy, my friend and former classmate, some of this tall phlox. And Kathy, it's this color, which it's all going away now pretty much, but there's this little bit of it still left. And I had trimmed this down, and the ground was soft, so it was easy to dig some up, and I thought, this is the time to do that. So I went ahead and did it, and she has it now, and I'm pretty sure it will work on its little root until the ground is totally frozen and have it settled in where it's going to come up next spring and grow and look beautiful. After the rain, this beautiful white cosmos is doing what I hoped it would all along, and it would have sooner if those old green non-ladybugs would have left it alone. I'm sure if it doesn't get terribly cold on them, they'll still come back, and I'll still have to spray again. But I think maybe it is actually going to be the end of it this time. And it's not like it's really given us a lot of time, because it is still, well, as I mentioned earlier, it's October the 26th, so there could still be some time. But I don't think that's going to happen for us. It's also came much earlier in the season before, so we are lucky to have as much beautiful weather as we've had. And I do have things inside. And earlier in this post, I was telling you how my pastor came and he tried to ignore everything else and just look at the flowers that I had brought in, or the plants that I had brought in. And let me tell you some of the stuff he had to ignore, because I had bags of bulbs, caladiums, elephant ears, different things. I got a little interruption there from my husband, but I was saying not only those bulbs that were in bags on the floor, I had the whole table filled with envelopes of seeds from the garden, so it just looks ridiculous in there. But I did get some things done yesterday that'll help me get it farther along and get it cleaned up and straightened up. And that's what I need to do, is to get some kind of organization going so that I can get started cooking for my sister's Thanksgiving reunion dinner. I wish I could save this euphorbia. So pretty. Look how well this little hardy geranium filled out. This is the way they used to fill out under my little fairies out by the picnic table, but they have just dwindled down to nothing. There might be a scraggly little piece of one, but I may clip this one in the spring, or not clip it, but dig it up, divide it, and use these in other places. Please be sure to like and to subscribe to the channel.